Before we move too far off is why do we need ordinals when the solution is already available on ETH? That's question number one. And then question number two, um, what do you think developers or the Bitcoin community can learn from ETH? And I'm asking you as a fellow punk holder. Please don't block me for removing my punk, but would love to get your thoughts.
No, that's okay. I know you still hold the punk, so it's fine.
I do, yeah.
Look, I think the main takeaway, and some might disagree, is I think there's a lot of, in my estimation, a lot of rigidity in the Bitcoin community, or a big subset of it. And I think in the Ethereum community, historically, it's been a bit of an open mind and more of an exploration. I mean, it's so early still in the design space for blockchains, and I think to Uri's point, the ordinals really have reignited the initial spirit of crypto, which is to say, look, these systems are super powerful. We don't really understand how we're going to use them still, but the idea of doing trustless execution and capturing time and space in immutable records is super powerful. And so I think the Bitcoin community sort of said historically they've been bitter about the success of perhaps Ethereum and have been critical of their migration to proof of stake and whatnot. But I think ordinals really have reignited sort of a more practicality into the Bitcoin camp, saying, "Wow, like we have a lot of security here. We have the best, most Lindy blockchain out there, and there's a lot of static compute and economic power here. What else can we do with that?" And so, it so happens that we can do ordinals. And so I think I'm really excited from that perspective because I think that energy is very much needed. Now, of course, the big question is, what else can you do with Bitcoin? And can you ever have smart contracts with Bitcoin? I think a lot of those are still open questions. I'm not the right person to ask that, but at least it's exciting to see that because I think in Ethereum, that type of thinking has served the community well. If you look at I mean, the transition to proof of stake was very ambitious. It took a lot of time and different types of designs. I mean, there was plasma, and then there was a whole bunch of different designs that were thrown out of the window. But it required that level of open-mindedness to say, sure. I mean, as time progresses and you have more lending, you have more value at stake. You have to be sort of more methodical and structured. You can't like move fast and break things, right? But I do still think that at least being open-minded as a community has served ETH particularly well to be the de facto kind of the most dominant smart contracting platform today.
But hold on, guys.
Yeah.
I think just like a few people here in the crowd, I have maybe a fundamental misunderstanding, which is why I think maybe you're running a little bit too fast for me. The way I understand it, Bitcoin is an open protocol where anyone can do whatever they want on the Bitcoin protocol or around the Bitcoin protocol and use it however they wish. And what I'm struggling to understand here is I'm going back to my question that I had with Udi when I asked Udi. I said, if I want to build property rights and you want to build money or something else, we must just go ahead and build. Isn't that the foundation of Bitcoin? What is the benefit of pushing back to people experimenting on a blockchain? That's the part that perhaps I'm not understanding, and I'm sure that if I'm not understanding it, a lot of other people in the audience are also not understanding it. What is does it mean that we have to change the design of the protocol? No. Does it mean that we have to change anything else? No. So I'm struggling to understand why it's one or the other and not let's just all do whatever the hell we want and one of us will get it right, maybe two of us will get it right, maybe five of us will get it right. Who cares?
I think you have here on stage like people who all agree that it's that everyone should do whatever they want and that Bitcoin is permissionless. I think that there is a group that would disagree. They just don't have a representative here on stage to present their case. But there is a group. I call them the Bitcoin laser eyes. What's that?
Well, for one, let's get the Bitcoin laser eyes on here because I think that's what Crypto Town Hall is about. So if you can give us some names now of people who you believe are in the opposite camp, our team is listening in the background, and let's get them on here because I'm a member of the crypto community, and I really want to try and understand both sides of the argument here. Like, I think that's what Town Hall is about. I think to have a whole lot of voices here that are all in one vertical and all screaming we all agree on something is not fun. I think what's more fun is to say, I see it as a permissionless network. I want as many people as possible to be able to conduct as many experiments as possible. But if there's anybody else that has a different view, let's hear from them.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a few laser eyes in the audience. So guys, feel free to DM me or Ran, and the team will bring you up, or just request to speak. I would love to have you on stage. But if someone could, like Rand's question is a good question. I wanted to ask it as well. Yago, do you mind, you or Alex? I'd love you to play devil's advocate. Like, what's the stance of the other group? Because there's some smart people on the other side of that argument. So I'm genuinely curious what their position is,
Sure.
even if you disagree with it.
Sure. So I think a good way to think about it, and this goes back to what Ron was saying, is why can't we have property and money? And we do on Bitcoin, right? We've got Bitcoin and we have BTC, but they're not the same thing. BTC is a use case on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's the primary use case, but it doesn't have to be the only use case. Now, when you start having more use cases bundled in, then the blockchain starts to become much more complicated, much more difficult to understand, much more difficult to maintain, and introduces all sorts of risks. MEV, which is miners extracting extracting value or front-running you.
This is what I want to understand. This is what I want to understand. I think for the
yeah.
So just, are you done? Just 1 second. Sorry. Just for the members of the audience. A lot of people in the audience don't understand when you say that BTC is just one of the use cases of the Bitcoin blockchain. I think that's very confusing. I mean, I certainly understand it, but I think it's very important that we explain that concept to people listening here. And once you've done that, if you could explain to us why the blockchain, I think you referred to it as almost like blockchain design, blockchain maintenance. Why would that need to change if we started to do ordinals and things like that on Bitcoin? Why would it need to change? Why can't we just use the blockchain as it is?
Sure. So think about the difference between if you go to Amazon Prime Video and you download a movie that you want to watch. Let's say you want to watch, I don't know, The Three Amigos, right? So you download The Three Amigos, you pay $3.99, and now on your computer you just have The Three Amigos. Versus Netflix, right? So Netflix bundled together a whole bunch of content, most of which you don't want, and you're paying, I don't know, $7.99 or whatever they're currently charging every single month. You can think about the difference between sort of Bitcoin, which is the one specific movie that you want, versus Ethereum, which is bundling together. You're downloading all kinds of information about assets that you don't care about, and DeFi projects that you don't care about, and meme coins that you don't care about. So Ethereum is far more bundled. But what's happening with both Ethereum and Bitcoin right now is it's become obvious that you can't bundle everything onto one blockchain. You have to provide a way for users to opt in to decide what it is that they want to use, right? And so the way that Ethereum is doing this right now is with rollups, right? So you've got Optimism and Polygon and Starkware and a whole bunch of other systems that if you're not using one of those systems, you don't see the activity on those systems. You literally have to get like a special wallet, a special client, right, to interact with those systems, and then you start seeing the activity there. Ordinals is the same thing on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's been far more conservative. It's been far more strict about trying to reduce bundling to a minimum, right? So with ordinals, unless you have a special ordinals wallet, you don't see the ordinals, right? You can't interpret activity that's happening on Bitcoin as ordinal activity. There's a whole bunch of additional information that this is an analogy, but you basically haven't downloaded. And I think the exciting thing that's happening in Bitcoin right now is that there's a lot of excitement around building more tooling and building more standards which will allow people to issue tokens, mint tokens, create smart contracts or DeFi tooling, which is opt-in, right? Which isn't bundled in strictly with Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin and Ethereum are basically moving in the same direction, which is giving users much more choice about which use cases or which aspects that they want. But Ethereum started out with a much broader scope of, okay, everyone's going to download everything and see everything. And Bitcoin started out with a much stricter, okay, we're just going to really try and keep the block size small. We're going to try and bundle as little as possible. Now, there are people that, like Udi has mentioned, that are confused about this, and they think they're Bitcoiners, and therefore, because they're Bitcoin maximalists, what they say has weight, right? And they are confused, and I think this is actually a very small percentage of the population, and definitely not like technical Bitcoiners, but they think they got confused, right? They saw that Bitcoin wasn't bundling additional things, and so they decided that anything that wasn't bundled with Bitcoin was a scam, or was wrong, or was like some kind of religious attack on Bitcoin. I think that idea is going to die a quick death because it makes no sense. It's not logical. And really, the competition is between these two approaches of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Do we start out by bundling everything, which makes it easier to then build more tools and more standards that people can build more stuff on? Or do you start out more strict and force users to build up in terms of the kinds of standards that they're taking advantage of or using?
Yeah, one of the things I think I'd like to just touch on is the fee model, right? I mean, a lot of the open questions around Bitcoin